All right, now before you quit, before you hand in that resignation letter, these are the 5 things that you need to have in place before you set yourself free. My name is Riyad. I used to work for a corporate finance firm for a reputable company in Dubai, making $120,000 a year. That's all tax-free money, by the way. I was in a pretty senior position, one of the better performers at the firm, and I had a great career ahead of me. It was just crazy to quit. And just like you, I was fed up. I just couldn't take it. I was dying inside every single moment. I was in the office doing work that I didn't want to be doing and speaking to people and bosses, dealing with their BS. It was just chipping away at my soul, as I'm sure it is with you as well. That's why you're here. Well, I decided to quit, and it's been the best decision that I ever made. I quit in 2016 and now it's 2024. Even though it was great, it hasn't been easy and it isn't going to be easy ever. So if I were to boil down the 5 things that you need to have in place before you quit, these would be it. Number 1, you need to have some savings. I don't care what YouTube video you watched about the guy that quit and just started making millions on Amazon with no money. That's all BS. You need to have some capital saved up, preferably 6 to 12 months worth of living expenses. When I quit my job, I had around $100,000 in my bank account, and that was sufficient for me to start traveling and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It took me a year until I figured out where I wanted to be and the business that I wanted to open up. So if I didn't have that kind of money, I would have went back to the corporate world begging for them to rehire me. So make sure you have some savings. Number 2, maintain connections with your colleagues. I know you hate them. I know you don't ever want to see Linda again or get a message from John asking you where the report is. I had the exact same feeling, but you just never know where life will lead. And I was glad I maintained connections with one of the ex-partners that used to work at my firm, who ended up starting his own practice, and he needed people to work with him on a freelancing basis. I reached out to him because I needed some money to invest into my online business that I started when I quit. And I worked with him. It was actually great. I didn't have to be in the office. I didn't have to deal with 20 bosses. It was just me and him, and it made me enough money so that I reinvest in the business and get it back on its feet. So make sure not to leave on bad terms, as difficult as that may sound. Just take my word for it, because you really never know. And it's always good to have that cushion to fall back on if you ever need to. Number 3, have a plan. I'm not talking about a very detailed plan where you have a step-by-step Excel telling you what you're going to do 1 week from now, 2 weeks from now, and a month from now. Because honestly, you never know what will happen. But just have a general direction of where you want to be. Now, if you're passionate about something, let's say you're an artist and you've always wanted to be a guitar player, for example, then dive right into it as soon as you quit your job. But if you were like me, where you worked in a corporate job for 10 years and your creativity is pretty limited because that's the way the corporate system is designed, it's designed to keep you in a small mental box where you just carry out orders and you do as you're told. And that's where I was. I didn't have any idea about what I wanted to do, but what I knew is that I wanted to go to South America, and specifically Brazil, because I had a friend there that just opened his furniture shop. He actually just left his job in Dubai and moved back to Brazil. And I knew that it's a cheap cost of living over there, and there will be more opportunities than obviously being in Dubai, which is a very expensive city to be in. So I decided to go to Brazil and explore different business opportunities. Again, this is all assuming that you have the number 1 thing in place, and that is savings. Because without the savings, I wouldn't have been able to do any of these things. So one thing led to another, and I opened up a small restaurant on an island in Brazil where the rent for the whole year was around $4,000. Number 4, be flexible. And by that, I don't mean doing splits. I mean, you need to be willing to do anything that comes your way. I went from being in a suit and a tie every day, going to a very fancy financial center in Dubai, to opening up a small restaurant in an island in Brazil, where I had to learn how to cook, even though I had never cooked more than an egg in my life. I always ordered in Dubai. I had to scrub toilets. I had to learn a new language just to survive in Brazil, because English is not widely spoken there. So you need to be in that mindset where you're just ready to explore and try any new opportunity or anything that doesn't really consume a lot of your savings. So for me, for example, I had $100,000 saved up, and when I went to Brazil, I traveled for a couple of months, and then I stumbled upon this place where the rent for the place was $4,000. It was a 2-story place. So at the bottom there was a restaurant, and at the top there was an apartment. So at least I secured myself a place to stay and somewhere to try my new business for $4,000 for the whole year. So you need to be in that mindset. You just need to be open to anything that comes your way, and don't be rigid, because coming from the corporate background, we learn how to be very programmed and rigid in our thinking. You need to break out of that mindset. And the only way to do that is to actually experience something new. Number 5, get ready to struggle. This is not going to be an easy ride. The moment you hand in that resignation letter is not the moment that you are free. It's not the moment that you start riding in Lamborghinis and making millions with a lot of women or men around you. You will struggle. If you go in to quitting and the post-corporate world with the mindset of, this is gonna be easy, man. I'm just gonna start this online business. I'm gonna start making millions, have my own free time, chill with the boys, everything's gonna be good. You're gonna fail. Now, you might be one of the million people that actually do end up getting to that place, but for the most of you, you're gonna fail. Because if you're not ready to struggle, to put in the hours, to fail, and then get yourself back up, you will not survive. There were countless moments throughout my journey where I thought to myself, screw it, let me just call my ex-boss and tell him I want to go back to my job. Because there's nothing like seeing that message that you've got X thousand dollars in your account by the end of the month. But in hindsight, nothing has been more rewarding, nothing has been more freeing than quitting my job. However, if you go into it with that mindset of it's going to be easy, then you're destined to fail. Just put that in your mind that you're ready to struggle, try new things, and learn skills that you can transfer from one business to another, because that's what happened to me. I started off with this small restaurant on an island in Brazil, and I closed it down, and through closing it down, I started selling what was in the restaurant that I had brought with me from Egypt, which is where I'm from. And then that's what led me to start the online business. So just be in that mindset of, let's go, whatever comes my way, I'm gonna grind through it. Number 5. So that's it, guys. These are the 5 things based on my experience that you need to have in place before you quit. Now, it doesn't mean that if you have these 5 things in place, life is gonna be rosy. Just like we discussed, it's still going to be a struggle. But at least I gave you an idea about what to expect and what to prepare for before you hand in that sweet resignation letter. And believe me, it's sweet.